Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to start by acknowledging that I am coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. My name's Rochelle Beattie. I'm the Education Coordinator at Celebrate Ageing. Celebrate Ageing is a charity that was set up in 2013 to accelerate the pace of change around promoting respect for older people and combating ageism. I'm absolutely delighted to be introducing Cathy Bushell and Bern Duffy from Ageing Well Services Ballarat and to be showcasing the Biscuit Tin Project Ballarat. They did an absolutely amazing job localising the project and engaging their local community around it, and particularly the older women. The Biscuit Tin Project is a primary prevention initiative that aims to promote respect for older women by really elevating the significance of their caring and nurturing roles. That's it from me. I will hand over to Cathy and Bern to showcase their amazing work.
Thank you so much, Rochelle.
Thank you.
I would like to just acknowledge the Wadawurrung people, the traditional custodians of the land that I am coming to you all from today, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as well. Thank you very much again for inviting us to come along to present and talk to you about our Biscuit Tin Ballarat project, which we have absolutely loved working on and bringing to our community. We got involved in the Biscuit Tin Project because it started in 2022, I guess, when we launched our first Ageing Well in Ballarat strategy. And I guess before I start, I probably should have introduced myself that I am one of the team leaders from the Ageing Well Services team at the City of Ballarat, along with my colleague Bern. We launched our first Ageing Well in Ballarat strategy, which is based around the WHO, so the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Communities Framework. And respect and social inclusion is a key focus area. This includes priorities and actions to ensure that our older community members feel valued, respected, and included. In Ballarat, unfortunately, family violence rates are high, and we know that elder abuse is often underreported, and disrespect and ageism is pervasive across society, and it needs to be addressed. So we're focused on celebrating the contribution of our older residents, tackling ageism, partnering to prevent elder abuse, and celebrating the diversity within our community. So in the first couple of years of the strategy, we've been focused on raising awareness of ageism within the organisation, because we need to walk the walk before we focused externally. But in the second year of the strategy, we've been focusing on initiatives and campaigns to engage the wider community in Ballarat. We attended an information session about the Biscuit Tin Project, just like the one today that you're tuning into, and it ticked all the boxes for us. It was really a no-brainer, and Celebrate Ageing make it very easy to get involved in this project through their facilitation kit model.
So our approach. So we looked into the facilitation kit, and what we found was that there are a whole range of templates which were really useful for us. You could help you step right through the process, but you could also make it your own, which we really, really loved. And the cost of the kit was affordable and fit within our budget. So really it was a basic decision to go ahead with the project. As a primary prevention focused program, we decided to seek partnership with the Ballarat Community Health. They're the Elder Abuse Prevention Network lead in our region. And we also shared the information with others in our staff group. We have a Free From Violence project officer, and we linked in with Respect Ballarat project as well. The facilitation kit was a basis for the project plan, and it helped us to break it down into deliverables and into project chunks. And then we came up with what we thought might be a really great launch date, which would be during Seniors Festival in October. And we worked backwards from there. So that helped us to work out, well, when would we need to work from recruitment to conversations to workshop date, resource development and launch. And so this stage of our project really went from April to October. Thanks. And so for recruitment, we looked within the kit and we saw that there was a great template letter that we could adapt. And we sent that out to people that are on our newsletter mailing list. We have both online and hard copy options. We also sent it to participants in an event that was held the previous year at the art gallery that was centered around an artist and her work to support the Older Women Count movement. And we sent it to internal colleagues so they could share it with their networks, as well as external partners and local community groups, such as the local Aboriginal Co-op, Ballarat Regional Multicultural Council, and senior citizens clubs. And we got a lot of interest, and really quite quickly, because it struck a chord with local women in our area. And we were aiming for 12 participants, and we were able to attract that number relatively quickly. And once we'd reached our final recruitment date, we set up follow-up correspondence for each of the women so that they knew what to expect, and we're making sure they were happy to go ahead. And then we organised our conversation times with the women, and we based the questions on what was in the kit. And it was a bit of a new skill for us, so we sought advice with the Celebrate Ageing team to get some tips and tricks about how we might do that well. And so we hosted the conversations over the phone with both Cathy and I present, so that we could capture the women's stories, their conversations about what respect looks like. But we decided to also record those conversations with the permission of the women. And that way we could go back and make sure that we were actually getting the language they used and really reflecting their voice. And this was also a really great way to get to know the women, but also to prepare them for the workshop discussion, especially the concept about respect and what that looks and feels like.
Thanks, Bern. So on the workshop day, 10 women attended the workshop because life gets in the way, and that's just what happened. So a couple of our people weren't able to attend on the day, but it was a fantastic day. We hosting the conversations before the workshop, as Bern just kind of touched on, really helped ensure that the women felt comfortable, but also it felt like that we knew each other, which was really helpful on the day. We provided a summary of their conversation, a hard copy to all the women at the workshop so that they could review and edit it while they were there, but also remind them as well what we talked about in our initial conversation. We hosted it at a local hall, making sure that it was accessible, informal as well, like a community space, good parking, and we made sure that there were 2 rooms to allow for the workshop to happen, as well as photography at the same time. It was a 4-hour workshop, and it was based around the presentations that have been developed as part of the facilitation kit. We actually paid Celebrate Ageing to facilitate the workshop on our behalf to support the team, and also because of the limited staff and resources that we had available at the time. The workshop, we explored historical and contemporary inequalities, what respect and disrespect looks like, and where to go if someone is experiencing disrespect or abuse. We ensured that everyone felt comfortable on the day, provided morning tea and lunch. That's often, so important, really brings people in. Food brings people together. And the discussion over food as well during the day for people to get to know each other. Feedback was that the women loved the workshop, and we could see that on the day as well. They connected with each other, learnt a lot, reflected about their lives and their experiences, so they felt comfortable in the setting. Some really strong connections were formed, and it reinforced, I guess, the importance of the messaging, or why we were there to do what we were doing. We sourced a local photographer to take the photos, this is an important, I guess, element of the project too. So it's important to choose wisely, I guess, just to make sure that the women felt comfortable. We had an agreement template as part of the facilitation kit, and we made sure that we briefed the photographer accordingly so they knew what the project was all about, who they'd be photographing, and and the key messages of the project, so that could come through in the photos. In hindsight, we wish we'd taken more photos of the workshop and possibly even filmed the workshop to just document the process, because it was really quite a powerful and empowering session. It was life-changing, really, for all involved, I think, for the participants, but as well as the staff that were involved. So our next focus after the workshop was developing the resource. The biscuit tin element of the project really resonated with the women. Everyone had a special tin and a story, and they all brought their unique perspectives about why they wanted to participate in the program. Curiosity, connection, life experience, advocacy, or, role modeling, because they wanted to be a role model, or they saw themselves as a role model. The baking or biscuit element didn't quite hit the same chord, I guess. Many admitted that they were no longer bakers, actually. So, but we worked through this and we found out that many of the participants had a family recipe or memories of baking with children and grandchildren. So we were able to include that, in our resource. And post the workshop, we worked really closely with the women to refine their stories. They decided on the final words that you can see in that image there on the screen, to highlight their contributions. So this is how they wanted to demonstrate or highlight their contributions. Developing the resource was probably the most time-consuming part of the project, but we, and I'm talking about City of Ballarat and Ballarat Community Health in our partnership, decided on the format of the stories. We focused on respect and their contributions of the women, and less on the biscuit recipes, because that was based on, I guess, the feedback from the women at the workshops, really. We then set up the structure of the book and filled in all the details from the stories that they had already shared, and then sent this to the women to edit and approve. Some women were, comfortable doing that over email, but others we needed to work through the edits, over the phone or in person, depending on their preference. We tried to keep it to one edit and provide timelines to meet deadlines. And we then provided the draft designed story for their final approval. We knew that, it was really important to make sure they were happy and comfortable with what was going to be shared with the community. And we worked with a local designer to bring the resource to life, following the biscuit tin artwork guidelines, which were a fabulous resource as well.
So, talking about the co-design approach, at the end of the workshop, we actually chatted with the women, and they were really keen to continue on and to have an impact and input into what the resource would look like. And so we contacted them post-workshop and invited them along to meet with us and to chat about the design. And so we did get the designer to create up a couple of mock-ups so that they could have a look at those to review. And it was a really fabulous way of identifying the design elements that were important to the women, and the things that they found that were distracting in the design as well. And some of the things that they came up with were quite different than when we passed it around in the office, what we thought as well, which is a really interesting thing. If you do take things and do what you think is going to be best, that you might be really missing the mark of the participants. So it was a really good opportunity to reflect on that. They were also keen to talk about the launch event and to have a panel be held as part of that launch event. And this was so that they could have an opportunity to actually talk themselves about their experience of being involved. So we thought that was really great and a generous offering of them to be involved in that way. Thanks, Cathy.
So we hosted our launch. We launched the Older Women's Recipes for Respect Ballarat book in the Ballarat Seniors Festival, which is a month-long festival. It's actually a statewide singers festival. We had great attendance with over 70 or so people in the room, albeit mostly women actually, and mostly older women. Um, but there was such a positive vibe in the room. It's very empowering. Our mayor hosted the event. We had guest speakers, executive representative from Ballarat Community Health and Dr. Catherine Barrett spoke as well. We had the panel session that Bern mentioned before, which was really just an informal formal chat. We put an EOI out to the group actually. Once they decided that they wanted to have a panel session, we did want to make sure that anybody from the group had an opportunity to participate if they wanted to. So we did put an EOI out to the group and asked who would like to participate. And at that time as well, the women said that they wanted one of our team to host the panel session because they'd grown to know each other really well and also grown to know us and felt comfortable. So that was very flattering, but also very nerve-wracking. But we did provide the questions in advance as well to the women just to reduce the nerves on the day and things and make them, as comfortable as possible. And the panel session was really well received. In fact, feedback post the session was that audience members actually wanted to hear even more from the women. They wanted to hear the stories of the biscuit tins, of their contributions, and really explore the stories of the women, which was fabulous. So something to think about moving forward. We provided on the day as well, you can see an image of a lady holding a poster. The A4 poster we provided to everybody at the end of the session and asked them to share a message to older women. And we had a photo board, a homemade photo board. You can see behind the three ladies there in the picture. And we told everybody that we wanted to share these kind of messages on our socials so that we could keep spreading the word post the event. We shared hard copies of our resource at the event too, and they were really well received. Before the event, we worked with our comms team and put out a media release. So local news media attended, and the project was showcased on local news, which was really pleasing to see. And then some other news groups picked up the story and they shared it as well. We invited our exec leaders from council along to the launch. But unfortunately, the launch time was their monthly meeting time. And we also invited local MPs, but it was a sitting week in Parliament. So lesson learnt there, if you want those, influential people to attend your launch, perhaps look at some of that in advance. Definitely a lesson learnt for us there. Talking about benefits and lessons learnt, there were loads of benefits. We made a strong connection. There was a strong connection made between the women, and some friendships have been formed now, which is really incredible. The understanding and discussion about how we talk about respect and disrespect really changed after the workshop. That was a really tricky conversation to begin with. Defining respect actually was quite challenging, we found, to begin with, but once we had the workshop, we connected with each other and we talked about it in more detail. The perspective and the understanding and the messages from the women really did change. The connection between City Ballarat and the participants was incredible as well. Such a benefit. We've built so much trust and respect, I guess, with that group that they are willing to continue to work as well, to share, the important messages that come through the project, which is the next kind of dot point around the fact that they are so enthusiastic. They want to keep, with, I guess, at the community level, continue to share the important messages. It was a really great project to capture the attention of and engage the community. It just in a different way, in a creative way, I guess, people really resonated with the resource, with the book. And it has enough flexibility to build on, to continue to share the important messages. Another benefit was partnering with like-minded organisations. This is particularly important when you've got, limited resources, I guess, but also to make sure there's consistent messaging shared across, your community, which is great. Lessons learnt there, as I've touched on previously, more photos and documenting the workshop would have been a great idea. Consider having some of the discussions about respect with the participants following the workshop as well, just to keep that conversation going. allow sufficient time to finalise the women's contributions. Perhaps consider a follow-up in a person conversation rather than back and forth via emails and phone calls, because that is quite a time-consuming process. So perhaps some thought around that for next time we would consider. Be transparent about your capacity following the development of the resource. Because you build expectation, I guess you really want to make sure that you know, have that frank and open conversation with the participants around what you may or may not be able to do once you've kind of developed the resource and launched your book or undertaken the project. Like I said, if you want your leaders to attend, double check dates. One other thing that we didn't do was actually have our online version ready for the launch. So that would have been really useful. We did have a link, but consider being a little bit more organised than us and have it on your website ready to go to share, and print more copies than you think. We did do 100 to start with, but we got lots of requests for copies, and we've had to do a second print run of another 100 so far. Yeah.
So we've got listed here some next steps, and some of these steps have already been in progress. So we're for the 16 days of activism, we've actually had a social media campaign on our Aging Well Ballarat Facebook page, and that's included the posters of each of the women, but instead of having their words that they've got listed, as you can see on the image here, we actually had a quote from the resource and then directed people to the resource. We also had a number of different responses from the women at the launch about their message to older women, and we'd found that project, in that process, has been a really great way of letting people know about the project, but also about the messaging out in the wider community as well. We've got some plans for exhibitions in the 3 Ballarat libraries and also in 3 community hubs across 2026. And with the community hubs in particular, we've had some early conversations about how we might have some activities happening alongside that the hub staff are going to coordinate. We're partnering with Ballarat Community Health to continue the important messaging, including they'll be hosting an exhibition for International Women's Day. But they're also going to meet with us and with the women this week, in fact, about how they'd like to continue the project. And so they've got some different ideas about promotional opportunities to get the key messages out even further. We held a staff education session too the other week, which was really fabulous. So there's lots of things happening, but we're really keen to see what the women would like to continue. Including some of the feedback that they've already provided about having conversations sitting alongside the exhibition, which is kind of going to be like a bit of a roving exhibition around Ballarat in the different spaces. Thanks, Cathy.
Thanks, Bern. And we've been lucky enough, I guess, a couple of it's caught the attention of local radio, local ABC radio, and a couple of the women have been were invited to talk about the project recently on ABC Radio, which was fabulous. We also have one of our Biscuit Tin participants, Maria, who is an incredibly fabulous advocate, and she has been empowered, I guess, after this workshop to really spread the word across the community and the state. So I really wanted to highlight Maria here. She was photographed, the photos here from the recent Victorian Seniors Awards at Parliament House. And so here she is with the Minister, Ingrid Stitt, and the Governor-General of Victoria, the Honourable Margaret Gardner. She's telling lots of people about the project, the urgent need to address disrespect and elder abuse, and leaving copies at, her local health centre. She's also been recently connecting with our local MPs as well, with some of the other women in the project to raise awareness and to spread the word. So we're really lucky to have Maria and a number of other local women who participate in the project, who are really keen to keep these conversations going in Ballarat. So Luba, Kay, and Suzanne particularly, and Christina, I think, as Reese is going to be heading along to meet our local MP, Juliana Addison, next week. So the women are very empowered after this project, and they're, keen to spread the word and keep the conversation going, which is really great. And that is the end of our story. You can, if you want a copy of the book, feel free to email us or visit Celebrate Ageing, but it is also now on City Ballarat's website with a page just for the project. All good to go now, so I can share that as needed as well. But yeah, feel free to check it out. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cathy and Bern. The fact that you've got so many participants from your workshop out there really advocating for the program and giving it voice is, I think, a real testament to the leadership and support and engagement that both of you did across the course of the project. I felt really lucky to be at the launch and see the panel conversation that you mentioned earlier in the presentation, and it was a really I felt quite privileged to see what the project meant to participants and to hear their stories. And I know Catherine's not here, but that she thoroughly enjoyed working with you all and facilitating the workshop as well. So just really quickly before I stop recording, Celebrate Ageing does, as Cathy and Ben have highlighted, we do have a facilitators kit for the Biscuit Tin Project that we provide, or that we sell, a licensing fee for $1,400, which is available on our website. And I will be sending out a link along with this re-recorded webinar. Thanks again to Cathy and Bern, because I had technical issues the first time around. So they've been very generous with their time and also sharing their experiences of the Biscuit Tin Project, and have thoroughly enjoyed working with you both. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.